Hello, everyone. Welcome to Whispered Tales. Today, we're bringing you a story about how discovering your own strengths and practicing with dedication can lead you to success. It's a tale that will remind us that we all have unique talents, and with the right mindset, we can excel in anything we set our minds to. Along the way, we'll also learn some new words and how to use them in sentences to improve our English in a fun and simple way. So stay with us until the end. Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful town, there lived a family in a quiet corner of the city. This family had a 12-year-old boy named David, who was in the 6th grade. David was an energetic kid who loved playing outdoors, and his favorite activity was playing soccer. Almost every day, David would head out to the nearby public field where he honed his skills. One afternoon, after coming home from school, David slumped onto the couch, looking deep in thought. He opened a school book, stared at it for a moment, and then leaned back into the soft cushions with a dissatisfied look on his face. His father, who had just come in from the backyard, noticed this unusual behavior and walked over to his son. Sitting beside David, he asked, "What's bothering you?" David explained that he had received a poor grade in math, but that wasn't what was truly upsetting him. He shared that his close friend and neighbor, Matt, always seemed to score high in math. No matter how hard David tried, he just couldn't seem to do as well. Hearing this, David's father went to get a glass of water to calm his son. Once David had relaxed a bit, his father took him outside to their small backyard garden, which was filled with shady trees and a peaceful atmosphere. "David," his father began, "I want you to understand 3 important lessons from what happened today. These are lessons that will guide you as you grow older." David, who deeply respected his father, was a bit confused but intrigued. "Can you explain those lessons, Dad?" he asked. "You will learn each lesson one by one through a challenge I will give you," his father replied, with a gentle smile. After a brief pause, his father continued, "For the first lesson, I want you to invite Matt to play soccer with you tomorrow." David nodded, eager to find out what lesson his father had in mind. The next morning, the weather was bright and welcoming, and David went to school with his usual excitement. That afternoon, after school, he invited Matt to join him for a soccer game at the nearby field. As usual, David, who played soccer almost every day, dominated the match. He scored 3 goals, leading his team to a big victory. Meanwhile, Matt, who wasn't very familiar with soccer, struggled. He often lost the ball and made several mistakes. Despite this, everyone who played that day had a great time. Afterward, David cleaned up and hurried to meet his father in the backyard. "Dad, I played soccer with Matt today. What's the first lesson you want to teach me?" he asked. His father smiled knowingly and said, "Tell me how the game went." David described everything, from his 3 goals to how Matt wasn't very good at soccer. His father nodded and said, "Look at this, David. Matt may not be good at soccer, but he's great at math, just like how you might struggle with math, but excel at soccer. We're all different, and that's okay. We each have our own strengths and passions." David felt a wave of understanding wash over him. He realized that people are different and don't have to be the same. But, curious as always, he immediately asked about the second lesson. "For the second lesson," his father said, "I want you to pay close attention to Matt tomorrow at school. Keep track of how often you see him counting or working with numbers." The following day, David eagerly went to school, excited to complete his father's challenge. Throughout the day, he quietly observed Matt, noticing how often he was engaged in math-related tasks. After school, David passed the time playing soccer again until his father returned home. That evening, David approached his father and reported his findings. "Dad, Matt was counting a lot today. He was working on math problems, solving puzzles, even calculating things like change during recess, and he even counted the petals on a flower." His father smiled warmly and said, "That's the second lesson, David. Matt is good at math because he enjoys it and practices it often. If you want to get better at something, you have to keep practicing, just like you do with soccer. It doesn't always have to be difficult. You can start with simple things like counting petals on a flower." David smiled, realizing that he could improve in anything as long as he practiced consistently, just like he had with soccer. Without waiting, David eagerly asked about the third and final lesson. His father thought for a moment and said, "For the last lesson, I want you to think about how much better Matt is at math compared to you." David paused for a second, then hesitantly replied, "I think Matt is about 3 times better at math than I am." "All right," his father said. "For the last challenge, I want you to study math 3 times harder tomorrow." David swallowed nervously, but nodded, determined to tackle the final challenge. The next day, after school, David sat down to study math. After an hour of intense focus, he decided to push through and study for 2 more hours, tripling his usual effort. But before he could finish, his head started to throb, and without realizing it, he fell asleep. Later, he was gently woken by his father's soft tap. "Wake up for dinner and meet me in the garden afterward." Feeling disappointed in himself, David met his father. His head hung low. "I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't complete the challenge. I studied so much that my head hurt and I ended up falling asleep." His father gently patted David's head and said, "David, this is what happens when you try to master something you don't enjoy. It's hard to stay disciplined and consistent. But when you study something you love, discipline and consistency feel much lighter, just like how you stay dedicated to playing soccer." After a brief silence, his father gave him the final piece of advice. "So, if you want to be smart and become an expert at something, either study what you love or learn to love what you're studying." David, filled with admiration for his father's wisdom, promised to carry these important lessons with him for the rest of his life. Today, we learned new words and sentences through this story. Remember, learning English can be fun when you practice regularly. So keep listening, learning, and growing. Make sure to like, comment, and share how this story helped you improve your English. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story where we'll continue learning together.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, ready to take, well, sometimes a stack of sources, sometimes just one really insightful story, and pull out the practical knowledge you can use.
Exactly. And today we're diving into this really compelling narrative called The 3 Lessons of David's Father.
Right. And this isn't just, about kid stuff or school struggles. It feels more like a blueprint, really, for anyone at any age trying to figure out how to handle comparison.
And how to forge a real path to excellence, one that actually lasts.
Yeah.
So our mission today is basically to distill that timeless wisdom from what seems like a simple story. It's about David. He's a 12-year-old 6th grader.
Full of energy, right? Passionate kid.
Totally. He loves soccer, plays almost every day down at the local field. He's actually really good at it.
Mm-hmm. But there's always a but.
Right. But recently he got a math grade back, and it knocked him off his feet, confidence-wise.
And it wasn't just the grade itself, was it? The real kicker was the comparison.
Mm-hmm. His neighbor, his friend apparently Matt consistently aces math.
So David's sitting there, feeling that sting of, maybe not failure, but inadequacy, measuring himself against Matt.
Yeah, he came home, just slumped onto the couch, looked totally defeated.
And his father saw this.
immediately. Recognized that look. And instead of just saying, oh, try harder or giving some empty advice.
Oh, right, like buckle down.
Exactly. The father decided David needed almost empirical proof. He set up these 3 challenges, like a little experiment.
Designed to teach some fundamental truths about achievement, it sounds like.
Pretty much. He took David out to their backyard garden, nice peaceful spot.
Familiar ground.
Yeah. And laid it out. Told David, I want you to understand 3 important lessons. Lessons that will guide you as you grow older.
So learning through doing, not just talking. Okay, let's unpack this. What was the first challenge? It tackled that comparison thing head on, you said.
It did, but in a kind of counterintuitive way for fixing a bad math grade. The father told David, invite Matt over tomorrow. Play soccer with him.
Ah, okay. David must have loved that idea. Soccer's his turf.
Oh, absolutely. So the next afternoon, they play. And the story details it. David, who practices constantly, he's just on fire.
In his element. A zone of genius, you might say.
Totally. Scores 3 goals, leads his team to victory. Just dominant.
And mad. The math whiz.
Well, Matt spends his time, thinking about numbers, not footwork. He struggled a lot.
Losing the ball, making mistakes, the whole thing.
Exactly. A total novice on the field.
So David feels good about winning, but maybe a bit awkward about Matt. He reports back to his dad. What was the father's move then?
This is the genius of lesson 1. The father just reframes the whole comparison. He says, essentially, look, Matt struggles at soccer just like you struggle at math.
He didn't say comparing was bad, just that David was comparing the wrong things.
Precisely. He showed him how to compare correctly. The insight is, well, it's simple but profound. Excellence is domain-specific. Matt's great at math, you're great at soccer.
We do that all the time, don't we? Beat ourselves up using someone else's benchmark in their area of strength without flipping it around.
We do. And think about it professionally. This isn't just self-esteem, it's strategy. You hire Matt for his math skills. You don't then expect him to, lead the sales pitch competition.
Sales team soccer match.
Right. We're all different. And that's not just, okay, it's valuable. Comparison needs to see the whole picture, the different talents, not just measure everyone against one stick.
So David gets it. Matt isn't just better, he's differently skilled. That must have been a huge relief.
A major recalibration for him, I think.
Okay, so recognizing differences, that's step 1. But what about improving in the area where you were weak? How did the father tackle that? That leads to the second challenge, right?
Yes. The second challenge was all about observation, unlocking the how behind Matt's math success. The father told David, go to school, watch Matt carefully, track how often you see him working with numbers.
Simple instruction. Observe.
And David, being David, apparently took this on like it was soccer practice, a laser focus all day on Matt.
And what did he find? Did Matt just study nonstop?
Well, he reported back that Matt was counting a lot. He saw the obvious stuff. Sure, Matt working hard on math problems, doing puzzles at lunch, the formal practice.
Okay.
But here's the really fascinating bit. The detail that unlocks it. David noticed the informal stuff.
Like what?
Like during recess outside, Matt was even counting the petals on a flower.
Ah, okay. That's the key detail, isn't it? It's not just the homework grind.
It's the constant low-friction immersion. That's what the father pointed out. Matt's good at math because he actually enjoys it.
And that enjoyment leads to practice that doesn't even feel like practice.
Exactly. It becomes almost invisible. The big takeaway here is that consistent practice doesn't always have to be this formal, difficult, structured thing.
Huh.
Counting petals counts, so to speak.
It's about integration, isn't it? Like not just studying math, but thinking mathematically. It reminds me of that flow state idea.
Precisely. When you enjoy something, the effort almost disappears. David plays soccer for hours. It's fun, immersive. Matt counting petals, some kind of mental space for him.
So if you love it, you're constantly doing this kind of almost unconscious, deliberate practice.
That's it. David only practiced math when forced. Matt practiced because he wanted to, even in small ways like counting those petals. That adds up.
Huge cumulative advantage over time. So if David wants to get better at math, he needs to find a way to practice consistently, like he does with soccer, not just suffer through homework.
Right. Find his version of counting petals, maybe.
Okay, lesson 1, we're different. Compare accordingly. Lesson 2, excellence comes from consistent, often enjoyable practice, which sets up the really tough question.
The final challenge.
How do you force that consistency when you don't enjoy it? When it feels like pulling teeth?
And this is where the father gets, well, maybe a bit brutal, but it's essential. He forces David to confront the sheer cost of forced discipline.
How did you do that?
First, he asks David to quantify the gap. How much better do you think Matt is at math?
Oof. Putting a number on it.
David thinks hard, remembers his bad grade, and says, I think Matt is about 3 times better than me.
Honest, at least.
Very. And based purely on that number, the father issues the final directive. Okay, then tomorrow I want you to study math 3 times harder.
Wait, 3 times harder on a subject he dislikes. That sounds counterproductive, like setting him up to fail.
It sounds like brute force, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe failure was part of the lesson.
So what happened? Did David even try?
Oh, he tried. The story says he was super determined, sat down after school, pushed through his usual hour of focused effort.
Which was probably already hard for him.
Right. Then he decided, okay, 2 more hours to hit the target. But he just couldn't.
He burned out.
Spectacularly. Before hitting that 3-hour mark, his head started throbbing, focus gone, and he actually fell asleep. Just complete mental exhaustion, and felt really disappointed in himself.
Wow, so the failure wasn't just mental, it was physical. The father must have pointed that out.
Absolutely. That physical reaction, the headache, the exhaustion, that was the lesson. His body and mind were screaming, mismatch.
It's incredibly hard, maybe even biologically costly, to sustain discipline for something you genuinely find draining or unpleasant.
Exactly. Think about it. David could play soccer for 3 hours, score goals, feel energized, but math for 3 hours, throbbing head, total shutdown.
The discipline feels heavy for math, light for soccer. Because one is fueled by passion, the other by sheer willpower.
And willpower, as David discovered, is a finite resource, especially when you're fighting against your own inclinations. True, sustainable consistency isn't about brute force, it's about reducing that friction.
Finding a way to make the effort generate its own energy, like it does when you love something.
Or at least not drain you completely. Which brings us to the final piece of advice. The synthesis of it all.
Okay, lay it on us. The father's concluding wisdom.
He told David, and this is crucial for anyone listening who wants to build expertise. So if you want to be smart and become an expert at something, either study what you love.
Path 1, follow your passion.
Or learn to love what you're studying.
Path 2, cultivate enjoyment. That's powerful because it implies choice, agency.
Exactly. It's not just tough it out. It's find the love or make the love.
Okay, let's bring this home for everyone listening. You might be facing your own mat, maybe in a tough project, a new skill you have to learn. What does this all really mean for you?
It means integrating these 3 lessons. First, value your own strengths. Stop the unfair comparisons. Maybe you can delegate or collaborate. Play to your strengths.
Right. Lesson 1, acknowledge difference.
Second, if you do need to build that expertise yourself, remember lesson 2. Success needs consistent, low-friction practice. Think small, enjoyable steps, not just huge, painful efforts. Find your flower
A
petals.
small, integrated practice.
And third, lesson 3. True discipline lasts when it's fueled by passion or, crucially, cultivated enjoyment. If learning something feels like David's headache.
You're probably relying too much on willpower. You haven't cracked the learn to love it part.
Exactly. That's the sustainable path. These aren't just school lessons. They apply everywhere. Coding, sales, managing teams, anything demanding mastery.
Find ways to integrate, find ways to enjoy, build that consistency.
That's the core message.
So on that final point, the active choice. Learn to love what you are studying. We want to leave you with something to think about.
A little homework, maybe?
Maybe. Think about one task this week, something you find difficult or just tedious. What's one tiny, practical step you could take to find a flower petal in it?
Some small aspect you could focus on, maybe find interesting, or just make a little less friction-filled.
How can you start that process, even in a tiny way, of learning to love or at least appreciate what you need to study or practice?
Because finding those petals, that might be the only way to build expertise without getting that throbbing headache. Something to consider.